الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to Understanding Islam. My name is Ashraf Shaikh. I'm the host for this program. Joining us as usual is our guest scholar, Hafiz Muhammad Zaid Malik. As you know, Hafiz Malik is Imam or the Minister of the Islamic Center of Northeast Florida on St. John's Bluff Road here in Jacksonville. Welcome, Hafiz Malik.
Thank you.
The topic for today's program is Tawheed and Shirk. These two are Arabic words, and I am going to ask Hafiz Malik to explain these to us. Let's talk about the word Tawheed. What does it mean?
Tawheed is, as you said, Arabic word, and literally it means oneness, as to believe in one God, one deity, is the major belief in Islam. We use the word Tawheed, and sometimes we also say that Tawheed is the core of the religion of Islam, the monotheism. And according to Islamic definition of Tawheed, it means to believe in the oneness of God, the Almighty, regarding His lordship, and regarding His worship, and regarding His names and attributes, which means that we believe that God the Almighty has created this world, and He is the only creator, sustainer, and provider of this entire universe. And also we believe that it is He alone to whom we should worship, and we also believe that God the Almighty has many, many names and attributes which befit Him alone. None of His creatures should use those names for himself or for herself. For example, let me read the first chapter of the Holy Quran, which is called Al-Fatiha, or the opening chapter. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayri al-maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amen. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. All the praises and thanks be to God, the Lord of the mankind, jinns, and all that exist, the most gracious, the most merciful, the only owner and the only ruling judge of the day of recompense, that is the day of resurrection. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help for each and everything. Guide us to the straight way, the way of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, not the way of those who earned your anger, nor of those who went astray. Amen. So this chapter, which is the first chapter of the Holy Quran, tells us about all these three aspects of Tawheed, believing in the Lordship of God, or believing in the worship of God the Almighty, in the oneness of the worship, and also believing in the oneness of the names and qualities, attributes of God the Almighty. Also, for example, we have verse number 255 of the second chapter, in which God the Almighty says, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm, lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard, man dha alladhi yashfa'u 'indahu illa bi idhnih, ya'lamu ma bayna aydihim wa ma khalfahum, wa la yuhituna bi shay'in min 'ilmihi illa bima sha'a, وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. God the Almighty, none has the right to be worshipped but He, the ever-living, the one who sustains and protects all that exists. Neither slumber nor sleep overtakes Him. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Who is He that can intercede with Him except with His permission? He knows that happens to them, that is His creatures, in this world and what will happen to them in the hereafter. And they will never compass anything of His knowledge except that which He wills. His chair extends over heavens and the earth, and He feels no fatigue in guarding and preserving them. And He is the Most High, the Most Great. This verse of the Holy Quran is considered by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, as the greatest verse of the Holy Quran, because it speaks about the attributes of God the Almighty. Or for example, in the end of the Holy Quran, verse number 112, the Holy Quran has 114 chapters in all. This is chapter number 112. It's a small chapter. It says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Which means, in the name of God the Almighty, the most gracious, the most merciful, say, O Muhammad, He is God, the One, the self-sufficient Master whom all creatures need. He neither eats nor drinks. He begets not, nor was he begotten, and there is none co-equal or comparable unto Him. So this is briefly Tawheed means, to believe in the oneness of God the Almighty, in His names and qualities, in His worship and in His lordship.
Okay. Let's define the second word that we used in our title of the program, Shirk. What does that mean?
Shirk is just opposite of Tawheed. Shirk is again an Arabic word, and literally it means partnership or association. And if we define it technically or Islamically, it will mean to associate any partner with God the Almighty in His worship. It also implies attributing some divine attributes to any other besides God the Almighty. So, as God the Almighty says in chapter 51, verse 56, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have created the jinns and the human beings so that they may worship me alone. When it comes to the worship of God the Almighty, there are so many kinds of worship. And if any of these kinds of worship has been done for the sake of any other deity besides God the Almighty, it will become shirk. And as there are so many kinds of worship, logically there are so many kinds of shirk. But our early scholars have defined or divided the shirk, associating partners with God the Almighty in the worship. I would rather use the word shirk because it is the Quranic term. They have divided the shirk into three major kinds: the greatest shirk, the lowest shirk, and the hidden shirk. And when it comes to the greatest shirk, it has been subdivided into four kinds. The greatest shirk is subdivided into four kinds, being first the shirk of invoking, which means that if a person invokes for help any deity besides God, he is committing the greatest shirk. As I've just read a verse in the first chapter, chapter Al-Fatiha, or the opening chapter, verse number 5, in which we say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. O God, you alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Which means that we don't worship any other deity besides you, and we don't ask for help any other deity besides you. Because if we do it, we will be committing this greatest sin, which is shirk. This is the first aspect, or the first kind of the greatest shirk, to invoke any deity besides God the Almighty. And the second kind of the greatest shirk is called the shirk of intention, which means that you do some act of worship, and besides pleasing God the Almighty, you also keep in your heart the intention to pleasing some of His creatures. It becomes shirk in intention, because you are not pure in your intention, and you are not wholly and solely intending to please God the Almighty. For example, our scholars, early scholars, have mentioned two conditions for an act of worship to be accepted by God the Almighty. First, that it should be pure, it should be for the sake of God the Almighty. And secondly, that act of worship should be according to the tradition of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him. So if we lack any of these conditions, our worships will not be accepted. This is the second kind of the greatest shirk, shirk of intention. And the third kind of the greatest shirk is called the shirk of obedience. For example, we read in chapter 9, verse number 31, in which God the Almighty says, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله إلا هو سبحانه عما يشركون. They took their rabbis and their monks to be their lords besides God the Almighty, by obeying them in things which they made lawful or unlawful according to their own desires, without being ordered by God the Almighty. And they also took as their Lord Messiah, son of Mary, while they were commanded in the Torah and the Gospel to worship none but one God, who has that God, none has the right to be worshipped but He alone. Praise and glory is to Him, far above is He from having the partners they associate with Him. So this is the shirk of obedience. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, also said, لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق, that if a person orders you to do something and that order contains disobedience of God the Almighty, then you should not obey him. You should rather strive to obey God the Almighty. And if a person does so, if a person obeys that person, that order that contains disobedience of God the Almighty, then he is committing this shirk of obedience. Okay. So I have covered three types of the greatest shirk, which is the shirk of invoking, okay, the shirk of intention, and the shirk of obedience. Right. Now we have the fourth kind of the greatest shirk, which is called the shirk of love, which means that you should love any other besides God the Almighty as God the Almighty should be loved. For example, we read in chapter 2, verse number 165, God the Almighty says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. And of mankind are some who take for worship others besides God as rivals to God. They love them as they love God. But those who believe love God more than anything else. This is the criterion that if we love any person as much as